Hey, thank you so much for tuning in today and welcome to my podcast studio. Before we start on today's episode, I just wanted to take a quick moment to say I am truly, truly grateful for you being here. It means the world to me and my guest for us to be able to share our conversation with you. If you do like what we're talking about, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, hit the like button. And if we do talk about something that you either agree or disagree with, please put it in the comments. We would love to hear your feedback. Also, please don't forget, I do a lot more than just podcasts. So every Tuesday, I'll put out a drum playthrough. I'll also documenting my journey on writing my solo album, which will feature a lot of guests that have been on the podcast. I'm also putting up a lot of tips and tricks of stuff that we do talk about in some of the podcasts, like insights that I get from some of the guests that share their journey in the music industry. Once again, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. And again, please don't forget to subscribe. Let's get into it. Well, Alessandros, thank you so much, man, for taking your time out. And it was a little bit of a tough start here with a little bit of technical issues, but we got it all sorted mostly thanks to your audio skills.
Yeah, I mean, it's the good thing probably about interviewing an audio engineer is that you might find a solution for whatever problem. So
that's it.
It's all good and solved.
Fantastic. Thanks, and again, thanks so much for taking time out to have a chat to me. We obviously have some mutual friends in Canada, which is how you and I met.
Yeah. Yeah, my family in Canada, the amazing One Soul Thrust.
That's it.
Salem, Jag, and Todd. Yes. They're not just friends to me; they're family to me. So
yeah,
even more.
Yeah, Salem said that you were was it godfather to the daughter.
Yeah. I mean, it's obviously we got that union and bond after years of like deep friendship and some sort of spiritual brotherhood and and family connection. When you meet somebody that's that just along the line and you go like, well, I mean, how can we be so close, even if I'm from Italy and they're from Canada? But yeah, they're family. They're family to me.
They are some absolutely amazing people. I've had the pleasure of chatting to all three of the guys in the band. Both Jack and Todd as well. Absolutely lovely people and fantastic new album as well. The latest one that they put out.
I'm very proud of all records, but the last one was like, when you're, you feel that a record is great from day one. When they sent me the tracks, everything was so organic and cool and already functional that my job was the easiest. I just had to go there, push record, put the band in a uncomfortable environment so that they could, challenge themselves. But everything was there, and you can feel it because the songs, they work no matter the production. They just work. They're just great songs.
Yeah, there's really, really good vibe, like really good energy in the songs. But I'd love to actually just, I'm sure we're going to cover a lot of other topics, but now we are talking about One Soul Thrust. I'm curious to hear how you guys connected, because as you said yourself, like you're in Italy and they're in Canada. So how did you guys connect for the very first time?
Yeah, one of those good things about the internet, that nowadays, well, back 12, 13 years ago, sorry, I was part of a group of vocal teachers, actually for a Canadian company, but through an American council. And I was part of this forum side group of teachers, and I was I don't remember how, but I started to talk about my collaboration back then with Glenn Hughes from Deep Purple, and I was talking about how we were recording in the studio, because I was actually his keyboard player with Moonstone Project for 6-7 years, and we recorded in the studio together. So I was just telling my experience, I guess, about that, and just out of the blue, this Salem Jones comes out of nowhere, and we start talking about Glenn, and about his voice and things. And I guess in just one evening we talked for hours, and we ended up talking about spiritual stuff. When you just meet a stranger that's not a stranger, you just start talking so naturally. And naturally in a few weeks, went to a place where I was asked if I wanted to produce them, and I was like, yeah, sure, let's do it. Just send me all the songs you have, and let's do it. And 2-3 months later, I was flying to Canada, and I met them. And actually, we had Glenn Hughes on the album flying like 2-3 days after me, and we had Glenn in the studio with the band to record the song "Go Home and Melt" for the first record.
Yeah, that's so cool. That is so cool. I spoke to Salem about that story as well. That's obviously a massive thing for them as well. They were so impressed by and so overwhelmed by the fact that you just got Glenn in, which again is a massive thing. It's especially for a first album.
Yeah, I mean, and I basically didn't do anything, because they, the idea came because of another situation that didn't work, and then we went on changing plans, and the most rational and logic conclusion out of that professional situation was, well, why don't we do something together, and have Glenn do sing a song on the album, and Glenn, even if for a few years he was like, I would say very present on the scene in terms of sessions and things. He was doing backing vocals and this and that, and he was doing collaborations. It's not easy. It's not easy to get Glenn, because Glenn is Glenn is part of the Purple family, and he's got such a distinctive voice that can turn even the Yellow Pages into a masterpiece. But he's also a great songwriter, and he really cares about what's outside in terms of vocal presence. So he doesn't just want to sing songs just because you pay him, or you pay the sessions, or there's a label paying for the sessions. He wants to do great stuff. So I didn't even have to send songs to him. I was like, well, you will love this band, because they have this funk root element that you're gonna love, and it's gonna fit perfectly to your voice. So he came to the studio, and we were like supposed to record like the day after, but he flew in. He got excited, and he was like, well, let's record, let's do it. So we did it, and Glenn, actually, I don't know if Salem told you, but Glenn was coming out of a laryngitis back then. Like, Glenn is always like 100% in vocal shape, but in that period he blamed tofu. He was like, oh, I'm the only one eating tofu and I'm getting sick. And I was like, well, I'm vegan too, so I don't know, maybe it's not the tofu. But and he was like, I don't know if the voice is all there, maybe we can wait tomorrow, but let's start. Comes in and blows us away on the first takes. So we're like, okay, maybe you don't have laryngitis for real, and it's just maybe something in your head, because he came in and he delivered such a great track, and he was in love with Salem's voice and writing. I mean, actually, I've done so much with Glenn that sometimes you not that I take for granted when I work with these people what we do, but it's very easy to get accustomed to being in such a company, and and you're used to amazing stuff. But that day was really special because I could, for the first time, I was working with Glenn in a different environment that wasn't controlled because we knew we were the writers and, we knew the band and everything. It was all brand new. It was brand new to me because, that was the first time I met the band. And it was the same for Glenn. I mean, Glenn flew from LA to Edmonton, and we just went into the studio, and magic happened because the song was there, and the band was on fire. So as soon as I pushed play, he was like, "Oh wow, what is that?" So we started going back and forth with ideas, and but that's been a great encounter. Like, especially for a band. Obviously they're like consumed professionals, but one thing is to be a professional, one thing is to relate yourself to a guy from the Champions League.
Yeah.
You can be the greatest professional, but that can be intimidating. And and these guys were like in their at ease in their natural environment. With Glenn Hughes walking around the house, and it was great. It was great for me. It was great for Glenn, and it was absolutely great for the band in terms of if you get Glenn's blessing, it means that you're doing something good.
Absolutely. But I picked up on something you said. So when you said that, it was obviously the first day that Glenn met the band. Like I said, he flew in and he just started singing straight away. But was it also pretty much your first day with the band, except obviously for the meeting you had with Salem a couple of months prior?
Yeah, I think I flew in like on Wednesday or a day like that, and Glenn flew in on Saturday or Friday.
Yep.
So I came. We started recording drums because I wanted to have the drums laid for Glenn, and and we went to, actually we recorded the drums in Canmore in the Rockies, in a beautiful, in this amazingly beautiful place in the mountains, and then we came back to Edmonton, and we just got Glenn at the airport, and but everything happened like in the matter of 4 or 5 days. Wow. And so, and that was the first time. I met the band, I think I got like at 5 p.m. the day, and we had a band meeting at dinner, and then the morning after we were tracking drums. And that it's I normally I like to explore the situation better instead of just flying in, but the feeling towards the band was, it was natural, and I heard them play, and I was like, well, we don't need to rehearse prior to that, or spend some time, because I need to understand the the nature of the different characters, and then I like to have fun making music. So if there's tension, or if people are intimidated by the studio or by, I don't know, my presence, I just come in with with the crazy Italian attitude and make jokes and make it lighter. So it's almost impossible to have problems with me in the studio unless I unleash the Italian fury. But it was but it was very natural. It was very natural. When I saw them at the airport, it was like, everything is gonna be good. It's gonna be easy. And again, not because we had Glenn's blessing, but this band is just it's a great band. It's definitely, one of those, unsung heroes that we have in the business nowadays, because, there's everything is in a drawer right now. It's this rock is just a drawer. It's not like in the 70s when everything was just music. You were just, if you wanted to do a dance song and heavy metal song in the same record like Queen used to do, or I don't know, or like Styx, you didn't care. You were just doing it. Everything was music. But nowadays, it's all in a box. So if you have the talents and the sensibility to go outside of the box, you don't fit into this big scheme that's the music business nowadays. And One Soul Thrust is, I mean, great professionals with a wide array of powers in terms of songwriting and musicianship. So you cannot just put them into a drawer like many other bands.
It's funny now you sort of bring up the whole music industry and how everything works at the moment. Because I'm always keen to sort of hear people's thoughts about sort of like the correct way of operating through the current climate, if you like. Because there's obviously it's so easy for everybody to sit at home and record some stuff, and again, like send it to somewhere else and collaborate with people on the other side of the world and all that. But in regards to sort of I think you mentioned yourself, like doing like a dance song and a heavy metal song on the same album. Like, you have the diversity and the ability. I suppose, the ability to do whatever you want is so much easier now, in the current climate. So I think I got myself a little bit confused there. But my thought was, how do you think it's in the current climate that it is for bands to operate with regards to sort of like connecting dots and collaborating?
Well, I mean, in my opinion, it's always a matter of seeing what you want from your band and your music. Because nowadays, I mean, it feels like the Far West in terms of, I mean, there's no rule. It seems like there's no rule and everybody can do whatever they want. But that's a good thing. I mean, it's like before the 40s. I mean, anybody could write anything they wanted and could create anything they wanted, and then it was people. People could, decide whatever they wanted to listen to. I mean, it's honestly, I feel it's great that you can sit home and just do a record and be Billie Eilish, no matter if you like her or not. I mean, but. I mean, to me, it's like it's wonderful. I mean, it's amazing. It can inspire people to make more music. I always suggest to make music because you gotta love what you do, and if you want to write a hip hop song and it's makes you feel good, just do it. I mean, and. It's I don't trust into the we should do a song for the radio and then the song goes on radio. It doesn't work like that. The main aim for a band, it cannot be just, I mean, money and success or whatever comes is an optional. I mean, the mandatory process and request that you have to ask yourself is, what do I want for my band? What kind of sound do I want for my band? And nowadays it's all a wide array. It's a wide canvas where you can, just draw whatever you want. The bad thing about it is that there's more musicians than listeners. That's what I always say. I mean, there's so much music around, and the containers of music don't allow the new David Bowie or the new Jimi Hendrix or the new Beatles to stand out just because of the quality, because you need some sort of presence, and because there's too much music around. And I mean, and Spotify, I know everybody hates Spotify, and I guess every musician wants to hate Spotify, but on the other hand, I mean, if tomorrow I want to do an Americana record that no label wants to release because I'm just a rock musician and they don't want to sell my other stuff, I can do it independently and just get on, I don't know, CD Baby and Spotify and be anywhere I want to be in a matter of a click. And that gives, everyone a chance, because I mean, who said that, you just need the music business to make music? The music business is the business side of music. And I mean, if you're a professional, you might want to dive into that, maybe, but it's not the only way to make it work. But if you want to make music, you should just make music and not worry about tomorrow, but worry about the now and the creation more than, we should do that because then that other thing is gonna happen. And I don't think it's the way that you can operate in the long terms in the music scene, because I mean, trends, especially nowadays, trends are a matter of a blink of an eye. And there's a kick drum sound that's fashion in the moment, and a week later it's gone. So how can you predict that? So I wouldn't worry about what's the trend. I would just take the positive of all the tools that we have today. And honestly, I mean, I've seen also big professionals release records independently and they don't care. I mean, if you want an outlet and you're capable and your music is great, you'll find the breach into the wall and make it work. Maybe, I mean, you won't be on MTV, but if you change the perspective on success, well, I mean, it's gonna work.
Well, I think success is also is such a broad spectra, because again, like you can talk to people that are quite happy to to have the day job and use music as a hobby, so they would play a couple of gigs a month and sit and write songs at home, and that is success for them, because they have a beautiful family, they have their 9-to-5 job, but and they're quite happy with that. To others, again, like success can be to be the high achiever, the one that wants to dream big and aim for that extra, as you mentioned yourself, Champions League in regards to Glenn Hughes. Like if you want to make music your main thing, but again, as long as what you're doing comes from the heart, as long as it's genuine, as long as it's something that's you, something that represents the music that you want to make, I think that is, to me anyways, is probably the biggest criteria for success. It's something that's you, something that's important to you.
Well, yeah, I agree. There's two questions that come out of that, because I mean, we should define success first, and we should define happiness too, because
so important.
Yeah, because music, when you hear a call for arts, like it can be, you see a painting and you want to be a painter, you hear a song and you want to be a musician, but in that moment when you hear the call, there's no money involved. I mean, you don't think about fame. You're attracted by the sensation that song, that painting, that sculpture, anything gives you. And you simply want to be a channel for that and be able to send to the world the same emotion. So the problem with lots of musicians is that it feels like a failure if music is just a passion. And because we're so used to because all our idols are up there, but if you take away the glitters and gold, without the songs, you're nothing, even if you're a big artist. And then you never know the journey that took that artist there, because maybe they had to sell their souls literally to the devil, and they're not happy. I mean, I'd rather be happy and be, working 8 hours 10 hours in a different job and still be happy to make music, instead of being trapped into something that you don't like. And I see that on myself, because lots of people are like, oh, why don't you expand? Why don't you do more? more music in genres that sell more. And I'm like, first of all, I'm 42 and I love expansion as an aim, but I'm 42 and I just want to live happy. I mean, I don't want to be trapped into making music that I don't like, or better, maybe I can like it once in a while, because I've done pop, I've done death metal, I've done hardcore, and pop, and I mean, and dance for Japan. I've done any kind of music that's got good songs. I don't care if it's good songs, it's good songs. But I couldn't just be that guy. I couldn't just be the pop guy. I wouldn't be happy. And I know that it wouldn't last, because when I did it, I was like, oh, let me shoot higher, because I mean, it feels like it's never enough. And I became a session player for the Italian pop scene. I wanted to die. I wanted I wanted to stop being a musician. I remember I one day I came back home and I told my father, I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. This is not me. I don't even feel the urgency of writing a song, and that's not me, because I don't want to be, just that guy. And I remember I called everyone the day after, and I was like, I'm not your guy. I'm sorry. I'm gonna give you a few days for to find a replacement. And actually, back then I was touring with the Italian Tina Turner, so like a very famous female rock singer. But I just couldn't stand the mentality, and it was more business than music, and it's not me. So. And they're always like, oh, Ale, you should do this. You should write for that. You should, go to LA and writing for pop. And I'm like, well, what if that thing that you're saying doesn't make me happy? I'd rather have 20,000 views on YouTube for a song that I did with all my heart.
Yeah. Instead
of 200 millions. Because I went to the bathroom and did something that I didn't like. Yeah. It's if that makes sense. I mean, I'm not that kind of guy. I'm not able to turn my head, and if it stinks, it stinks. And I just want to make great music, and music that I can pride myself on. And people should relate to that when they make the choice. Going to your mom and say, well, Mama, I want to be a musician. Well, you should tell yourself, well, I want to be happy first, because the music business can really bring you down, like any other business, and more, because it's, you're putting your heart at service. And so I would recommend, for people to just be happy and leave the expectations out of the door. Aim higher if they want, and you should always do that if you really believe in your stuff. But the everything is an optional in this world, so you better leave the expectations out, and just and also humble yourself with anything that comes, because everything that comes, you got to be grateful. With all this music around, I mean, you're just grateful to have even one listener. I mean, it means that you broke through millions and trillions of other bands and songs.
Absolutely. I think the happiness part is crucial regardless of what you're doing. So whether you are playing, so whether you are stocking shelves in the local supermarket, or whether you're like a Robbie Williams, or like your world star, it has to be something that it has to be something you want to get out of bed for in the morning, and something you're looking forward to. Because it's like I'm just giving a quick example here of how I actually left something I've been doing for 8 years. I was quite good at like my previous sales job. But at the end of it, it was driving me into a really dark place where I didn't want to get out of bed in the morning. And then all of a sudden, I started to reconnect with music again, and I met all these amazing people, all these beautiful bands, and like people like yourself, like complete strangers that you never met, but you have this beautiful thing. You have the art in common of playing music, and hearing all these stories and stuff, and sort of connecting to all these creative minds is just so, like, it's so rewarding. It's so inspiring, and hearing people's stories, hearing people's music, like hearing One Soul Thrust in Canada, and hearing other bands, from all around the world, and all these bands, like you said, are bands that are, just in a draw almost, and like I would never have heard any of those bands if I hadn't spoken to someone that then said, oh, you should also talk to these guys. And all of a sudden you have this huge audience of bands that they all want the same thing. They have this beautiful art, but they just want more people to hear it. They just want to get it out and get people's opinion, break through the noise. And again, it's such a beautiful thing to be a part of, because it's real people, it's genuine, and I think, as opposed to like coming from corporate and sales worlds and stuff where everything is so flaky, so superficial, I think, and I understand there's a huge part of the business industry that are like that as well. But in saying that, though, record labels, what's your opinion on that? Because obviously, once you sign, once you're locked in, especially how it was in the earlier days when you couldn't sort of just release something on Spotify yourself. But what's your thoughts on like record labels versus independent releases these days?
Well, I mean, it's two different worlds, but at the end of the day, they're ruled by numbers on both worlds. I've been on labels since I'm, probably it's been 20 something years, and somehow I've always been signed to labels, like 90% of my releases.
Wow.
But I've been part of independent releases myself too, and it takes lots of work on both sides, and somebody has to do the work and somebody has to pay for the work. In terms of, the hardest part, it's not the creation. The creation is just a moment, and the production, whatever. I mean, if you have the songs, everything will fall into place. And people sometimes, they don't even care about production; they just care about the songs. See, I don't know, the White Stripes. So I mean, it's so easy to record such a great visionary band, but you need that song. I mean, you need those songs to break through. But what you need, it's the manpower that moves all the little elements that can take you to people. And I mean, if you release independently, you gotta be willing and able to spend lots of money for promotion in order to get to people. And if you're lucky to have a record deal, somebody will pay for that. But at the end of the day, it's always you paying for that, because you're going to pay, they're going to pay up front, and just as as an advance, and still it's your money. So it doesn't change the math at the end of the day. What changes is that maybe the label has the people that do that professionally every day, and it's a little easier. But but then on the other hand, obviously, when you do everything yourself, the cut at the end is much higher, because it's maybe, I don't know, 90% that you can keep for yourself, but still you have to pay for everything up front, like production and your PR, ads, interviews and compilations and these and that. And maybe if you have a label or a producer that can pitch your stuff, it's easier, at least for what I've seen. And then, I mean, if you're, I hate to say that, but if you're trying to sell, really good, maybe you need some sort of external expertise that can, just, give you a different perspective on how to do things. Because if you're just independent, really independent, it takes, you have to be a great musician and a great businessman and a great accountant and a great PR and everything. So I don't know. I mean, I've the independent releases that I've been on, were tough. People had to spend their own money all the time. I mean, even just something that's easy when you're used to be with a record label. You just want an interview. I mean, you need an interview. I don't know, on that magazine, and that magazine is like a good billboard for your band, but they need they're paid. I mean, you pay to be on the cover. I mean, that's how it works. And I mean, if you have to do it yourself, it's kind of tough, but if there's a label, I mean, you can try to get them to pay for that with your own money, your own future money. But at least some they pay up front. Obviously, I mean, nobody wants to do an investment up front and not make money out of it. So, I mean, it's, sometimes the music business is just misunderstood because you don't see, the work inside of people behind the records, and you think that they're just there to rip artists off. But what I always say, well, if you don't like the music business, just release it yourself. And I mean, if you're happy, I'm happy for you. My most successful records have always been with labels, and independently, I'm releasing stuff independently, but it's always when it's not my typical genre. I'm doing an Americana record this year, and
cool.
I will release it myself. I'm doing it with Bruce Gage from the band Chicago, and we just wanted to do something out of the box, and that's gonna be independent because we don't even want to deal with a label for that, because we just want to write the songs and put it out. In a matter of few weeks, when we're done with the masters, the songs have to be out. So we just using CD Baby and all these TuneCore services that are amazing. And and honestly, and then again, I mean, you have to see what you want for your band, your brand, and your songs. And independently, I know that maybe I'm lucky, but if I don't invest lots of money, I cannot break through the noise, as you said. So I will be happy even with little numbers, but just to have those songs out that we want to have out, because they're good songs. So we just want to release them. But it's a tough question, because if you talk to musicians and artists, there's sometimes I don't like labels, there's thieves and blah blah blah. But then I mean, it's the nature of this it's the capitalism world we live in. I mean, it's if somebody's investing on you, they want a cut.
Exactly.
And it's never, I mean, if you need a distributor for your, I don't know, your Beatles mug that you're doing in your basement, still they're gonna get a cut. And it's never be fair to the first person creating, because there's too much people. I mean, if you add people to the pyramid and the scheme of how you're selling things to get it out, I mean, if you're selling it in your hometown, you don't need distributors. But as soon as you want to get bigger, you need a bigger machine, and the bigger machine costs.
Exactly.
Yeah, so that's, I mean, it's the nature of selling records.
It's a whole,
anyway.
it's the same. It's literally just having a business mindset. Like, if you're an entrepreneur, if you want to scale your business, you gotta, as you said yourself, you need a bigger machine. You gotta start employing people, and you gotta start expanding your networks to the scale you want to take it to. So yeah, you can't just sell CDs down the street corner if you wanna make millions. So if you wanna really really scale everything, Then again, yeah, you need those extra eyes and ears. And yeah, it costs money. You got to invest money to make money. And if you treat it like a business, then again, you need that infrastructure. And I completely understand record labels. If that's all they do, they put stuff in the funnel and stuff happens at the bottom. And if you are independent, yeah, it would take you a lot of time and a lot of research to sort of get to
money.
Yeah. A lot of trial and error as well.
Yeah, sure. And then there are success stories on both sides. I mean, sometimes, we have to remember that one of the debuts that sold more was the first Boston record. That record were demos made in a basement. You can have that kind of story where, the initial investment was not as big. With those songs, you just needed those songs, but the effort to get there was easy. I gotta use it. I'm using it not lightly, but it was easy in the business scheme of things. But and you hear all these independent artists that made millions and sold so many records just out of the blue, out of their basement. Well, we should know the story behind it because, it's not like in the 60s that a DJ is playing a Beatles song and the Beatles get big in America. These stories are stories to create like a magical, wonderful, glittery world around music. But the real world is that it takes resources and people and knowledge and presence in the market to be able to get to that people, to that radio station, to that movie, to that record label, because as I'm not an A&R, and still today I get maybe 50 demos a week. Wow. There will never be enough time for me to even just answer to all those emails, and it's not even my job. But they see me work with Frontiers and they think I can pitch their bands. And it happened that some of these bands were pitched to Frontiers. But, there's so much, obviously if it's a solicited demo and it comes through a friend, obviously it's got the shorter corridor to get to me. But,
of course,
even just a friend, you need a friend of the radio station if you're independent and you're trying to get there, or you need a manager anyway. So real independent can mean anything and the opposite, because you still need, if you want to function, you need a manager, you need an accountant, a PR, and or lots of time. Van Halen, it took them I think 6 years before they got signed to Warner, and they were just handing out posters outside of schools for years, and they were throwing party concerts in backyards anywhere they could in California. So but it was a different time.
It was,
and they had they had the songs. Nowadays if your neighbor just throws a party with a freaking heavy metal band in the backyard, you're calling the police. Back then, it was a little more wild and free and amazing because of that. But nowadays, it's all, to do the concert you need, the permit and that. So nobody does it. But I remember, 25 years ago when I was a kid, and I had this band in my province. We were rehearsing in my parents' garage without soundproofing and we didn't care. We just, and our neighbors let us rehearse all Sundays, and we were doing prog metal and we're doing crazy stuff because back then kids were kids, but nowadays, it's not like that you can create your own fan base, starting from ground up. Nowadays, the ground up is already big, because even if you put it on Spotify or YouTube, wow, that's not your town, that's not your neighborhood, that's the
That's
big
the whole world.
It's
Yeah.
8 trillion billion whatever pair of ears, and and trillions of songs. And I mean, it takes knowledge to be independent and make it work. But then again, we gotta go back to the success definition. If you're independent, and for you, success means recouping the money that you spend for the production, that's totally fine. If happiness and success for you is selling millions, well, that takes lots of work. It depends on how much time and knowledge and effort you can invest into your creation. Yeah.
I've got another question I'd love to get your opinion on. You've obviously been in the industry for quite some time now. At what point did you realize that you're saying, all right, I'm gonna give this 100%? How old were you? Can you sort of remember roughly when that was, where you're saying, look, I think I'm gonna give this 100%. I'm gonna be a musician and producer. I'm gonna be in the music business.
So when I decided that I wanted to be a musician, like full time, basically I didn't even know that you could make, a living out of being a musician. But I had this producer, and like local producer, but one of those people that you have, like a reference, like, I would love to be like him, because he had a studio and he had a successful cover band that was playing like 120 gigs a year.
Wow.
And but he was was doing top 40. So, and I was like, that's not that is not music, because I was 16, 17, and I was only into writing Euro music. But then one day I was I had another job. I was 19. And in order to be able to finance my music, I had to have another job. And I wanted to go to the university and do languages. I wanted to do foreign languages and be a translator, but I wanted to be a musician too. And I realized that I needed the money to do that, and in order to invest into my own music, and I didn't want to depend on my family. So I found a job, and then one day I was talking to this producer. His name is Alex Festa, and he was like, Ale, I'm looking for a keyboard player, singer for my cover band, and I thought of you. What would you do it? And I was like, I don't know. I don't want to do top 40. I don't even know how to play that, because I was into prog metal and Dream Theater and Yes and Genesis. And he was like, come on, Ale. I mean, you're playing Dream Theater. You're gonna play whatever is in the top 40 in a second. And I was like, I don't know. And he was like, well, it's the equivalent of 300 euros a gig per gig. And I was like, oh, so that means like 36,000 euros a year just for playing top 40. And he was like, well, yes. And I was like, oh, I'm done. And I went to my boss, and the day after I had no job, and I left my regular job, my normal job, and went into the music business. And for a few years I was like still doing my own music and doing covers all over Italy, and doing covers. Actually, it was a blessing in disguise. I hated to do covers. And I was still going with my Aussie shirt on stage, and I didn't care with my big hair, and I was all all dressed up for the 80s actually, and not for a cover band. But I learned so much, because gigging so constantly and traveling at such a young age. I mean, I could get on tour actually. When all my other friends were, just, trying to find their way. So I found myself into the professional world, and I was like, well, even if it's top 40, I like it. It didn't last long because I couldn't do it because I have this urgency to write and do my own music. So at one point, I was like, okay, if it works with my songs, and it works because of my talents and not somebody else's thing, I'm okay with it. Otherwise, and I gave myself 3 years. I said, in 3 years, it has to work with my own songs. Otherwise, I'm just gonna quit this crazy world, sharky business, and I'll just make my music, and I won't care about anything else. And I was almost ready to surrender, and then it worked. So I put all my strength, and when I was doing the top 40, I kind of got spoiled because, at least for me, there's no challenge because you're not writing, you're not creating.
Yeah.
You're just executing, and you got to be good at that anyway, but it's a different nature. And I have a different skin. I'm a creator. So, and I was like, that's too easy. I felt like I was almost ripping music off because I wasn't using my talents. I was like, well, okay. And back then I was a much better player than nowadays, and it was too easy. And I was like, there's no challenge in doing this. What's the fun? And then I got into pop music, and it was even worse. And if you're, because I don't know how is it in Australia, but in Italy, if you're a session player in Italy, in the pop world, it's, they could use a MIDI keyboard and program MIDI parts, and it's 90% of the time it wouldn't make a difference to have myself or any other keyboard player and a MIDI VST even back then. And I was like, that's why are they calling me just to do chords, or just for layering down MIDI parts, and they're going to change the sounds when it comes to mix.
Yep.
So it didn't work for me, and then I gave my everything in order to have my songs work. So I had to understand what was not allowing me to get to that point. It took lots of time and research and study of myself, because it's a great journey within your space to understand why you're not achieving something. And then it worked, but it worked the way I want it to work. And so my suggestion would be, if you want to be in the music business and give your everything, still you have to ask yourself if you're happy. What makes you happy? Because there are musicians that are happy just executing somebody else's music, and it's totally fine. But
100%.
It doesn't work. It doesn't work for anyone. When I'm doing sessions, I'm still creative. I'm still like, can I show you what I would do? And that is my specialty, I would say, because there are way better keyboard players or singers or writers than myself. I just do everything personally, and I try to do that every time I'm asked to do something. I just want to do things that can talk more personally and get through everything else.
But I think that point exactly is also can to some people can be a bit of a hindrance, because the thing is, my song is not special, it doesn't stand out. There's so many better songs, there's so many better singers or guitarists or drummers out there. Yeah, but there's no other you. And that's again why your song is your song because of you, not because of all the other guys. And if that song is special to you, that song deserves a space out there. It might the fact might be, despite you putting it out on YouTube where the whole world can hear it, the whole world might not but it still deserves to be there. If it's a song that's special to you and you're proud of it, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I mean, and what if John Lennon compared himself to Brett Delp? He wouldn't have never recorded Imagine, because that's the easiest song ever. But there's nobody else in the world able to write and sing like that.
Exactly.
Or
exactly.
it could be Bob Dylan. It could be anyone.
Knock on Heaven's Door. I was just thinking about that as well. It's like four chords.
Who wouldn't want to write a song so easily, but get such a great effect?
That's it.
But the truth, what I realized is that, if you wanna get through all this big bunch of musicians and great artists that we have in the world, luckily, you just gotta be yourself, because there will never be another person that can do something as you do. And if you get competent and good at it, and you train those muscles, and you train that thing, your special thing, you will win, and it will work. Because if it's like, you want to get into the food industry and you just want to make the new Oreos. First of all, Oreos have been there forever. They have a very unique taste, and you will never probably get to the same exact taste and texture and thing. And again, people have a choice of getting Oreos anywhere and chase for your product. So why don't you reverse that and create a great biscuit, put it out so that people can taste something different? Still, it's a cookie. Still, it's the same thing, but it's got a unique taste. It could seem more of a struggle at the beginning, because you have to find your special thing. But that is mandatory for an artist, especially if you're an artist, not just a musician. If you're an artist, you have to do that. And the difference is that anybody can be a musician, and I don't want to offend anyone, but you're born an artist. You're born with special skills and alignments and vision, and there's nothing and no one that can prove that wrong. And we see it. There's no David Bowie, there's no John Lennon, there's no Paul McCartney, there's no Jimi Hendrix, and we should ask why. Because these people maximized their talents, but that doesn't mean that they were the best in the world. Because if you put Stevie Wonder and Bruce Dickinson in the same room, probably it would make people laugh to hear them, reverse the repertoire. Bruce Dickinson singing Stevie Wonder songs and Stevie Wonder singing Iron Maiden. That could be funny, but we would put amazing musicians in a difficult spot, and that should always be in front of you when you're an artist. Just you're good you got a certain spot where your voice is magic. Just work on that, because working on a wider array of talents is tough. It takes work, and you might fail. It's better to just you feel you're special with words. Just write, train that muscle, train the specialty, and find a way to express what you have in mind as fast and as effective as you can, and then it's gonna work. Because I know that people come and want to work with me because they don't find what they find in me in somebody else. And it's the same. If I had to choose a producer, I would choose the one that's got that special thing that I would like to hear on my songs. So, if it works for yourself, why shouldn't it work for the whole world? And so you gotta reverse. Sometimes we're spoiled and we feel like we're entitled to success or to be recognized or to get that feedback. We're not entitled to anything. As artists, we're it's mandatory, and we're obliged because of the love of art and music to put out. But we're just channels, and channels don't work the other way around. You're just a channel between the creation and you make it visible, you make it audible, you make it touchable, and but everything that comes back, it's not in your power. Your power is to make it as good as you can and put everything you have into that. But we're not entitled to anything. We're not entitled to success. But we should ask ourselves every day to be us. Especially in a world where, as we said, everything is in a drawer. Everything is rock, pop, and all the subgenres. And you get lost into indie pop, indie rock, post-industrial, grungy, deathcore, punk. There's so many drawers. But if you're yourself, today, who's making it? The real special ones. Think about The Weeknd. They didn't reinvent the wheel, but they're doing songs in a different way than anybody else in right now. And it's we think that people prefer being lazy, but it's not true. People, they're not happy to get used to things. But they want to get excited. But you have to create exciting things in order to move them. And going back to the food industry, if you give them Oreos every day, they're just used to Oreos. There's never gonna be a surprise. But if you become a master pastry chef and you do a very special Oreo with cream and things and this and that, and a special and that special flavor that you can find, and it's you, people are gonna be like, wow, this looked like an Oreo, but it tastes like heaven. And still, with anything else, it's gonna be like that. If you can create a rock song and the chorus is like, oh wow, that felt, that was exciting, but you have to create that in order to reach that effect.
I really like that whole Oreo analogy. It's always great to have those metaphors where you sort of break it down.
I'm vegan, so it's the only biscuit that I can use because it's the most famous vegan biscuit.
Yeah.
But Oreo, anybody knows Oreos, but I could use Jorn Lande, or I always use metaphors with musicians that are very known. Like, the Stevie Wonder, Bruce Dickinson metaphor example, it always works. Because can you imagine Stevie Wonder singing Run to the Hills? It would be stupid.
Probably very different version for sure.
Yeah, different and maybe funny and funky. Not in a good way. But, and I'm not saying, probably Stevie Wonder can sing whatever he wants and still make it great, but that is to say that sometimes we think we belong to something, but only because we lack the research, because we want everything and now, but we never ask ourselves, how long did it take to Stevie Wonder to find that one and only Stevie Wonder thing,
that niche sound that he's
because
so good at.
Yeah, and same thing with it could be sports people. How long did it take to the fastest swimmer in the world to get that fast swimming? You will never know because you weren't walking that path. But surely, if you want to get there, you should put the same amount of work and dedication, and abnegation, and perseverance, and fight resistance. And it's always the same. If you have an urgency and you cannot live without something, well, you better do the job. And put yourself into that mindset of total dedication. I've been lucky that I worked with I can easily say some of the greatest musicians of our time, and I've never seen a great professional without a great working attitude. It's not like it's easy for them and it's tough for us. No, it's tough for everyone. Creation and music is a first of all, it's a leap of faith. You throw something to the universe and you don't know what's coming back, and maybe you think you wrote the best song in the world and you just get shit over yourself, and you don't get recognition for your work. So it's a leap of faith, and it's a tough job because your face is there. Your big face is there all the time. And you got haters and you got people, bashing you, and it's not an easy job. But, because of that, it takes more work.
And you got to keep going. You cannot stop.
Yeah.
You just gotta keep going. It's the I work on the analogy saying that the consequence of losing has to be a lot greater than actually winning, because if you don't want whatever plan B could be, then plan A will always be your main priority, your main target, because there's no chance I'm gonna go back to plan B or to whatever the alternative might be. So again, as you said, if you're so dialed in, if you're so focused, if your work ethics, regardless if you're a sprinter, if you're a businessman, or if you're a singer, as long as it is that I just gotta keep going. You're gonna have your failures, you're gonna have your downs, but as long as they don't stop you, just gotta keep going. And that's again, you see that for all people that eventually achieve success, it's because they had the passion, they were dialed in. It's the same as if you want to lose 10 kilos, for instance. It's so easy. It's that's again something. It's almost like another Oreo example, because it's something that everybody says, especially early in the year. It's just been Christmas time. I'm gonna lose all the Christmas food. But the consequence of not losing it is like, oh, well, I'll just look the way I do look now. So that's all right then. I'm going to try, but after 2 weeks, I'm just going to give up. It's too hard. But okay, fair enough. So you obviously didn't want it that bad. But if somebody told you...
Yeah, obviously.
But if somebody told you, if you don't lose 10 kilos, you're going to die, then you're probably going to do it.
Yeah, there's a bigger chance to do it. But in today's world, maybe, some people prefer to die than put themselves to work, but to a certain extent, yeah, I think so. Yeah, I mean, and it's the same thing with music, and I hear it every day. They're like, you're lucky you made it. First of all, nobody makes it. You get to a point where things start coming back, but it's not, the concept is not making it, it's getting there. It always fascinated me, because it's very easy to look at somebody that's already there and go like, freaking, and bashing down Bill Gates because he's doing philanthropy, because it's got so much money that he can just throw them out of the window. And it's very easy to hate a person like that because he's already there, but you weren't walking that path to get to that point. And same thing with music. I mean, it's so easy to bash Beyonce, but I mean, you don't know the hard work that it took. If you put the same resources and strengths and time and passion and fire belief into something, and you don't make it, first of all, you should ask yourself again, go back to the start and check if you really did everything you had to do, and you did it like 100%. And then again, it might not work. It's not science. It's not math. It's not like 2 + 2 = 4. I mean, it doesn't work like that. but the amount of work that it takes to get to a certain point, that should be the thing that inspires you, because you're inspired by the not by the position, you're aspired to be that, but what inspires you, it's the leap of faith.
Yeah.
And honestly, there's no greater everything if you don't take a leap of faith. I mean, you got to trust the process. I mean, and I want to quote Once or Thrust, you got to trust the process.
Yeah.
Because you got to have faith in what could come if you really want it so bad. But when I hear I tried all I could and it didn't work. Well, you didn't try. You didn't try enough. Or I mean, obviously there's some kind of, bad luck but bad luck comes also out of bad choices sometimes.
Very true.
So,
very true.
Or bad choices, not just yourself, but maybe you surrounded yourself with the wrong band or with the wrong manager. I mean, I used to be signed to a manager that managed Robert Plant and Jimmy Page. And I thought I could touch the sky that day. I was like, oh, we made it. We're freaking signed, together with Robert Plant. Who's going to stop me now? Well, I mean, that manager ripped me off. And still we didn't make any penny out of those 3 records. I mean, and who should I blame? The manager or myself? I blame myself. I was like, well, there's a lesson to learn. You shouldn't sign any contract that's been thrown at you, because I mean, that's the history. Sometimes we want to blame somebody else, but it's it was me signing that record deal, and I signed at least 3 or 4 and more, if I think about it, very bad deals that didn't end up to anything good. I have still my first band that I got signed when I was 16. We still have 2 records that never came out because we signed shitty deals, and we thought we knew everything. I thought I knew everything, but I was just freaking 16. What could I know? And I signed publishing deals. My songs have been on the game Rock Band. I don't know if you remember. It was on the I think Nintendo or something like that. I had songs on Rock Band, never made a penny, because I mean, that's I signed deals that were not good, and that happens. But it's like buying, you buy a sack of potatoes. They tell you that it's it's very good potatoes, organic potatoes, and they're like all full of worms and stuff. I mean, it's who should you blame? I mean, you can blame the person obviously that fooled you, but you have to, I mean, in this world, you have to learn to see things clearly up front. And that is a skill that we have to train. It's survival. It's obviously, I mean, it's modern age survival. And, but the music business is, is same thing as life. I mean, it doesn't change anything.
It's like any other choices you make. It is just one, like sometimes you make bad choices. And then again, you get over it. Like again, if it doesn't kill you, they make you stronger. You learn from it. So hey, all right, cool. Next time I'll read that extra publishing deal. Or I'll read all the small print, or I might just double check something before I sign.
Yeah, I mean, like publishing is the most difficult matter in the music business, and it's overseen by anybody, myself included. And for years, I was signing, bad publishing deals, and then I realized, I was like, well, I cannot do this. It's not working. Won't work in the long run, because one day I will have to make the numbers work if I want to have a house or a studio, or I mean, just function as a person. And and you read all these stories of musicians going like, well, the manager ripped us off and this and that, and you can hear it every day. But there's also people that's not signing the wrong deals, and they're leading the game. So, or they learned, and then they led the game. Like the Beatles were making like 4 cents out of every copy or something like that. I mean, they signed the worst deal ever, but then they had the strength of breaking that deal and going solo. I mean, they had their own label, and they made a fortune out of that. But they had to learn. Same thing with Elvis or the Eagles. I mean, the Eagles wrote records about that. The Hotel California is about that. And they went. It takes work, but it takes the right choices. It's like in life. I mean, if you get married to the wrong woman, and she's crazy and she drives you crazy, and your life is a failure, you cannot blame her. You could choose,
but you can fix
between, it. But you can fix it. You just get as far as you can from her. But music is not. It's no different a world than life. I mean, it's the same thing. I mean, you can apply those rules to the music. It's tough because we would like the world of music just to be this, fairy tale thing, but it's not like that. It has to function, and it has to work economically, artistically, personally, and I mean, it's tough.
All right, there's another thing I have to ask you about. So I deliberately didn't want to read up too much about you because I wanted to sort of be happen organically by the time if you were going to tell me a cool story. But there's one thing I did pick up. I saw someone you work with. That was a really big fan of me and my wife are a really big fan of the band Masterplan, and I've seen you work with Jorn Lande, the singer.
Yeah. So, I gotta thank Frontiers for that, because Jorn was looking for a producer, and not just a producer, some sort of, a collaborator that could write with him and could produce him and could kind of build things with him. So I got this call, and I was like, I've been a major fan of Jorn since the Snakes album, so like since 95, I guess 96, and so we started to write together, and what came out of those of that call, putting together two strangers and make music, became something very successful. We made 5-6 records together. We toured, we gigged. I played in front of the Norwegian king and queen and prince and princess with Jorn. Yeah, doing we did an anthem that Jorn wrote for. It's the funny thing is that Jorn is very famous in Norway because he sang the national anthem song that he wrote for the football team for the World Championship in, I think, 94. So he wrote this song, and so anywhere you go, if you're with Jorn, people will ask for that song. Like it's his thing. It's like very famous. So we played that song in front of the Queen, King, and all the royal family in Rjukan, which is Jorn's hometown, in the mountains. I mean, I've done amazing things with Jorn, and I'm so grateful that I could, not just expand my music with him, but also enjoy, because sometimes you're just starstruck, but you're working with people or their good sides and their bad sides, and sometimes business and friendship don't work, but with Jorn, he came to my studio in Italy, I think 30 times, something like that. At one point, he was always here. And he was touring with Avantasia, and they played in Milan, and we're like 40 kilometers from Milan, so like very, very close. And he was talking during, a band break, and it was like, well, Milano, I'm very happy to be here. Since I'm just an Italian citizen now, because I live in Sommalombardo. So he was making fun of that. But yeah, I'm very grateful to be, I mean, even just to be, in the company of such a great artist, but to write with him and make music and that voice, man. Oh,
it's insane.
You gotta be really grateful to work with those voices. It's crazy.
It's actually I'll give you just a little short story about how I actually got introduced to his voice. When me and my wife first met, this is just over, I think we met back in early 2010. One of the first things that happened was, like we went through each other's playlists, and just to make sure that we were both listening to the right music. And she was listening to like Lamb of God and all the really heavy stuff. It's like, oh, she's a keeper. But then one day she played me this album, which was I can't even remember the album now. It's like Time to Be King album.
Oh yeah.
Master Plan there, and that whole album was just like, wow, that's a really good song. The next song, wow, that's a really good song too. And the whole album is just epic. There's hardly any fillers on that album. Yeah. And I was just like, the drums and the guitars and the vocals on that album, like, it's just such a strong album. So I got introduced to Master Plan there, and then I've just been listening to everything that sort of came out after. It's just one of those things that just landed on your lap, and you go like, where have these guys been? And that sensational voice, man. And I can't believe they aren't massive. Like they aren't. I mean, why aren't they like the next Iron Maiden or something? Because they are so good.
Well, they were that close to become very big with the first record. They also got a reward from the European community back then. Like, they were so close, but when you put people together, you never know what's gonna work. And they had their issues, and Jorn left, and I think they had Mike DiMeo from America, and then Jorn came back, and it didn't work anyway. So it's a pity, because I mean, to me, Master Plan were exactly what heavy metal didn't have. A band with catchy songs, but still be a metal band at their core, but with great songs and melodies and anthems, and you could sing along all the choruses and still get great musicianship. But but it didn't work. So I mean, they're still up there as a band with the Swedish singer. It's that thing. Even when they had Mike DiMeo, it wasn't that band. I mean, when Uli Kurch and Jorn,
Mike Tirana on drums as well.
Yeah, but the first lineup, had some magic, and because they wanted to prove something with their music, and it really showed. But you take away the personal, you just change one little piece of the puzzle, and it's not working as it could. But yes, great band, and this vocals, Jorn still today, is like freaking sensational. When he's in the studio, I'm like, sometimes I'm like, what can I do now? How can I get this to be even better? How can I take it further? The starting point is like, it's crazy. It's crazily talented and gifted vocalist. No vocal lessons, no vocal journey. Just singing on your, after your favorite rock and roll records, and that's what happens. So,
but that must be so amazing. That must be so amazing for you as well. Like, to have that sort of that must be a really close working relationship as well. Like, if you said you made six albums.
Yeah, I think 6.
Yeah, wow.
Yeah, between live albums and studio album, yes, 6, and we're working on the new one too. So yeah, we got lots of things.
Fantastic, man. Have you got any other sort of similar artists that you've had a really long, obviously One Soul Thrust, but have you got anyone else that you've sort of had like multiple albums or multiple writing collaborations with?
Well, obviously Hardline, but I'm part of the band. I mean, it's like Jorn. I'm part of the band, and we're doing our fourth album together, and then I had Revolution Saints, which is which features Dean Castronovo, Jack Blades, and Doug Aldridge, and I've done 3 records with them. And then I have another Canadian band called Hair and Scarum, and I've done, I guess, 3 albums with them now. So yeah, I mean, there are artists that or also Bonfire. I've done backing vocals for them for like, I don't know, 6 albums now. And you sort of become, even if you're not part of the band, you sort of become, part of the sound, and they come back to me. And like Bonfire, I think I'm part of the trademark sound, because I'm the only backing vocalist that's doing backing vocals in their album. So they just send me the songs and they go like, well, I'll do your thing. So you're not part of the band, but you're part of the band somehow. So, and same thing with Hair and Scarum. They just send me. Oh wow, the power went away.
Oh, we're having a bit of connectivity. Can you hear me? Tell me what happened.
So basically, the whole town was without power. So
the whole town.
The whole town, yeah, for 15, 20 minutes. And I called the company, and they said, well, we're fixing it. They didn't say what happened. They just said, we're fixing it. So,
wow. How big is the town?
Well, my town is like, I guess 20,000 people, but I live in I don't know how to explain that. We call them fractions. It's just little suburbs of the towns, detached from the town, but we have the same. We're part of the same municipality, but it used to be a little town, and we're like 600 people.
Oh, wow.
in the middle of the national park, in the nothing, which is amazing, but it's got some downsides, like. Our internet is not as good because we got to use satellite internet, because I'm literally in the woods. So it's a great place to live, but like sometimes the power goes off, and you just got to wait and trust the plan.
Yeah, wicked. I don't even know what we were up to, because obviously like just threw us off there, but
we'll just get to another topic.
Yeah. Well, look, obviously, I'd love to just sort of get your opinion on sort of where you think music might sort of head after the whole COVID thing, because now like everyone is sort of sitting at home at the moment, and especially if you're a touring band, this is actually the crazy part, that this is not just in Italy or in USA or Canada. This is the whole world, man. Literally everywhere you go. Like if you're a musician at the moment, you kind of need to sort of start to think in different ways and different avenues. So have you got any ideas to how, or any sort of thoughts on how musicians could operate moving forward from here?
Well, I don't know, because at least in Europe, we're not seeing the end of this. So I'm assuming tours won't happen, and gigs won't happen until, we're hoping for 2022. But 2021, I don't see. There's no way that we can make it work. I mean, and Europe is so everything is so narrow, so close. So we have the smallest clubs. We have if you look at a map from Turin to Venice, it's like a whole town. It's like 400 kilometers, like just one town. Everything is so close, and so every time that they're trying to reopen things, we go back to lockdowns. So it's spinning in circles right now. So honestly, I don't know what is it gonna be of the live scene. First of all, we have to see who's gonna be on the other side of this pandemic, because like in any situation like that, some will live it, and some new phases will come to the surface, and we'll see what's gonna happen. And the biggest concern is how they will have people come to shows safely, and with some sort of certainty that you're not putting anyone in danger between workers and people attending the shows. But basically, what we're all doing is like navigating without a compass in terms of live shows. But we're I've seen anyone from Paul McCartney to the very small bands, they're just putting out things, because the pandemic is stopping the shows, stopping the tours, and for some people is a big the majority of the revenues are from shows. But you gotta in situations so difficult, you gotta reinvent yourself. So I'm taking this tragedy as a sort of blessing to find the time to do other things. And I cannot say it's been bad. Obviously it's been tragic, but on the other hand, I was able to produce more, to write more, to generate more work for my studio and my workers. And I couldn't employ some of them for the tours, but I could have more work in terms of productions and stuff like that. So we're trying to balance all these situations. But we're still taking gigs. I mean, we have a tour with Hardline for October, which is far in time. But if you think that it's been like that already for a year now, it's it's like, okay, time goes on anyway, no matter the no gigs. But I mean obviously the music industry's been and entertainment is these are the industries that are really hit, because we won't see a start before the end. So, and but the good thing is that as we said, you don't need luckily you don't need to spend so much money to be creative anymore, because I mean with a laptop and basically a room in your home, or just a corner of a room in your home, you can still write, still be productive. And in these strange times, I found the way to do things that I think I would have never done, like running a marathon, or I tried to take the negative and turn it into positive, and to do things that I wouldn't have had the time to do. But I realized that also, with an average of 60 to 90 gigs a year in the last 20 years, I didn't know that I had so much time on the road that I didn't do anything. I mean, I realized that I could do way more things just being home. And I mean, and I don't want to say this, just to say, well, it's all good. It's not good, but what should we do? I mean, can we keep on complaining forever, or we just I had the time. I had lots of time off, so I read, I studied, and I trained. The whole summer I trained 6 hours a day for the marathon. And because I wanted to do it. I always wanted to do a marathon, but I'm not a runner. So when I decided to do it, was too close to the marathon. But I thought, you know what? Let's do it. I mean, what can you do in 2020? Let's run a marathon. So, it's all you could do. There's so much time in your hands right now that, you just take it and do something.
I think that probably also comes with having that strong mindset, being an achiever, being someone who wants to accomplish things. So again, I suppose for a lot of people, and we kind of touched base on that earlier as well, you can sit back and say, and blame others, or blame COVID, or blame restrictions, or blame not having any gigs. But you can also just say, look, actually, I'm going to spend my time learning something or doing something I've otherwise haven't had time to do, whether that's running a marathon or whether that's you sitting down and writing a lot of songs, or learning stuff about how a business works, or how you can just harness new information, harness new, go out and network, just do something. Because otherwise, you can just sit home and watch Netflix, but it's not gonna get you closer to your goals or to your success, or it might make you happy, but
I mean, I've seen lots of musicians. They just learned new skills, because I mean, especially in this day and age, I start to be from the old generation, which makes me feel very old. But, but the new generation has all different kinds of tools that, we don't know how to use. Like, I've seen musicians get on TikTok, which, I didn't do that, but they find ways, to get out there and do things anyway. And, especially in these times, I mean, there's so much freedom and time to do things that you can experiment and explore situations that you probably would never do. Like, I've seen musicians turn into chefs and runners or things like that. I mean, it's the perfect time to do that. Obviously, I mean, a marathon won't give you, bread on your table, but you gotta find ways to make it work. And again, it's we're in the very unfortunate situation that gigs won't happen, but we were the most pandemic ready industry that's ever been, because we've been working over the internet with files and productions and things and lessons more than anybody else, and before anybody else. So the pandemic, I mean, kind of got us by surprise, but we had all the tools to survive somehow, or still at least not drowning into this situation. But we had the tools because we've been using the internet more than anybody else. So, I mean, you can learn how to do online sessions and online trainings, and you can take time. Honestly, it just takes a computer, which or a phone that we all have. So, okay, I mean, it's a bad time, but what can you do? Just find a different outlet, because I mean, life is not just gigs or shows. I mean, it could happen that your band just disbands out of the blue and you're left without gigs anyway. So, I mean, it all comes down to the mindset and the way you approach adversities. I've learned on my skin to turn adversities into possibilities, because the music business is basically that, because it's all adversities and stones that are thrown at your face. So you got to learn how to skip the adversities and still swim towards your goal.
It's your ability to adapt, and again, situations like this again caught everybody by surprise. So it's great to hear that you guys have been able to adapt. I'm curious to hear, like, what does a day look like when you wake up? What's your workflow like and your work routines?
I like to see myself very structured and into a regime, but I kind of go with the flow. I mean, the day starts with a plan, but the plan is crude as soon as I get into the studio because I'm a flow guy. But regularly I wake up very early, and it's it's something that I love to do. Like I wake up between 5 and 6 every morning. When when I was single, I was also waking up at 4, which is not very. It's the most antisocial choice you can do in your life, but it's the best choice in terms of production and being productive. But I know that it's a little extreme, but it's it's called the golden hour of God for a reason, because at 4 o'clock the whole world is sleeping, but nature and the biorhythms are starting to wake up. And if you wake up and align to that, I mean, it's a great spiritual choice, and it really aligns the body, mind, and heart and soul into a very special place. But it's very antisocial because you gotta go to sleep very early, and it's okay. But I'm waking up, let's say at 6. I have my breakfast, and I love my breakfast time. It's my time with myself, so I take it slow. By 6:45, 7, I'm in the studio, and just start the day when everybody's still in their beds. So I do all the creation and the moments that I don't need distractions are the first things I do. So no matter what's the priority, my priority goes to things that I don't need emails and messages and things and that, and my assistant or engineers asking me things, or the labels or bands. So between 7 and 10, these are my most productive hours because I have no distractions. And then I have an average of 15-20 students for vocal lessons. So I divide them during the week, and I try to have them. I try to have them like later in the day, so that that is the last thing I do in my working day. And but one thing that I've learned, at least that it works with myself, I function great in a stressful and let's say very tight schedule. I'm not able to be creative if I have 5 days to write a song, I'll write the song in the last 2 hours that I have at my disposal. That's how I work. So that, and with some sort of psychic need to work, my days are very busy. So I go from writing to mixing to producing to teaching mostly every day, and that helps me. Some people couldn't work like that, but I'm not a schedule guy. I'm not able to do just one thing. I'm let's say multitasking, but in a strange way, because I need the diversity to keep myself a little outside of everything I do. So it changes perspective. Like if I'm mixing and I'm just mixing the same band for the whole day, obviously it's okay, but I get get used to things, and my attention is not the same. I have a very short attention time and attention span, and I need to detach from the work. So I if I'm mixing a record, that's the first thing I do in the morning, because I don't want distractions and I want to be very productive. But But I try, when I'm done with the song, I always try to detach from the song, do something else, still be productive, but do something else, and then go back to the songs, because that gives me, it's like I'm always fresh on everything I do. Like I'm writing a song, but I'm not writing a song after another, because that wouldn't give me time to just regenerate and see things from the outside. it works for me. And and everyone that sees me work like that, they go like, "Oh, I would get crazy." But the turnout is that people think that I have 48 hours days, but it's just that I love to be productive, and I just my different spaces and environments are like tanks. So when I'm mixing,
Yeah.
but then I detach myself. I do something else. I put another hat. Then I go back to mixing, and my ears are clean. I'm not. Same thing with creativity, but that works for me. I think with a regular person, they would just get lost. And sometimes I have between my team and myself, we have, I don't know, right at this moment we have 16 records that we're working on, between everything, between mixing, productions, and writings. And some people go like, how can you do it? How can you even remember everything you have to do? Well, the secret is that I don't remember, and I just go with the flow. And I like to see myself like I'm able to shift a little my reality and tilt time towards myself if I really put lots of energy into doing something. Like when I mix, or when I produce, or when I write, even if I know that I have 2 hours. I have a saying: if it's 2 hours but you would need 4, well, you can still turn those 2 hours and make them 4 hours of production if you're really focused. So to me, it's more like focusing and be very, very mindful on what things need, but also choose wisely the people that work with you, because I mean the team that I work with is they're all like they're all very determined and very there's a sort of mutual mission that we never talk about, but we're always going forward, and that makes a big difference, because also the distractions that like if my engineer's doing a mix and I have to listen to things, I know that what I get from him is never a loss of time. It's always a necessity time to get a better result. And it's not like I have a worker that's not trained and skilled to work on something, and it's like you do it one step forward and 10 backwards. It's the opposite. I mean, if the whole team is pushing towards the same destination, you just gain speed. And this is something that I tried to learn from people like Steve Jobs and all these people that created great teams, because I mean, everybody's got a smartphone because of Steve Jobs, but he wasn't actually doing the iPhones. He was able to create a team where out of just one idea, one spark that he had, he could count on people that could do the things he could see. And it's the same thing that that all companies apply to the workers. And so that's what I'm trying to do here. So the people working with me are like very functional, but at the same time we take things very easily. I mean, it's I always say, well, we gotta have some good time, because it's still music. We have to be productive. We have to be good and strive for our better song, our better production, our better everything. But still, it's music, so we gotta have fun. And I don't know, this kind of approach and attitude. It's so concentrated on the journey, on the path that leads you to those results, that you just take it, you enjoy the time, the process, and the journey. And so it's time just flies. You realize that time is really a luxury when you really need time, because you don't have enough time to do all the things you want to do. That's when time is a luxury. it's not time cannot be, it's not even a concept if time is not productivity. And that doesn't mean that you have to be productive all the time, but it's a matter of, what you need to function. And I'm a doer, so I'm like, even on vacation, I'm like, can we do something? I'm not that kind of, I like to relax, but it doesn't take too much to recharge my batteries. So I'm always like, can we do something? And I wake up every morning, and and I'm very grateful to do what I do. It doesn't matter if it's a big artist or a small band that I just do it with the same passion and same fun and same fire, because still I know that it's always planting seeds in this life. And even sometimes I know producers that I don't do small bands, and I'm like, well, why? I mean, they gotta start somewhere. So what does it mean? I mean, if they have the songs, to me it's all about this. If they have the songs, I don't care how big you are. Sometimes it's funny. Today I got a call for probably my biggest thing ever, and I didn't know who they were. I got a call for work, and I didn't know their history, but it's one of the biggest producers for soundtracks for games, and it's not my world. So I got a call from a different world, and I was like, well, so who's this guy? I mean, what, if I didn't do the research, and I didn't apply the same fire that I have. I mean, even if you're nobody in the business, I don't care. If you got something to say, and the songs, to me, it doesn't matter. It can be Jorn, or it can be, and I mean, like, One So Thrust, they experienced that for 4 records and 5 studio sessions. To me, it doesn't make a difference. I'm always the same guy that's striving for the better album and the better song and the better performance. I don't care, and then you never know, because I mean, it can be a small band now, but you don't know what's on the other side of the album that you might do with them. So I'm always planting seeds.
But that again also comes back to the whole thing about, if it is something you can resonate with, if it's something that makes you happy, if you do enjoy it, then again, I'm sure there'd be a lot of top tier bands. There would be some real pricks to hang out with, because they might be too pretentious or have too much ego or something. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. As long as you're a good hang, as long as you have good time. Like obviously you and Jorn would if you have doing 6 and you now work on the 7th album, there's obviously a lot of chemistry there, and that again just makes everything so much more enjoyable. And that's, I can also understand again why you're saying, like if you go on holiday, or if you're not doing something, you would want to do it, because it almost becomes like a drug, doesn't it? It's that creative thing. I need to create.
I mean, and and sometimes people, I can understand that from the outside, they might think, Ali, you're not enjoying life. You're always working. That's what they say about me, even if it's not true. Because I mean, I'm training 2 hours a day. I'm working out 2 hours a day. I read a lot. I travel. I always say that I'm almost 42, but I lived 120 years, because I always tripled my hours during the day in terms of what I did. Even when I was in high school, I was sleeping, I don't know, 5 hours a day, even less, because I wanted to do music. But I never wanted to waste my time. So when I was going to school, I wanted to be a good student, because I loved to study, but I wanted to be a good musician, and that took time. And and the guys were throwing parties, and I was home training on on Dream Theater and Malmsteen. And it's always a matter of if you talk to to an Olympic runner, and you talk to him, you go like, well, you're not enjoying time because every day you have to run 6-7 hours. It's not a job anymore. I mean, it's not a sports anymore. It's a job. But you don't realize that, for that person, running and training 8-10 hours a day, it's living the dream. So who's actually enjoying life? The person living the dream and happy to do what they want to do and put some time and all their passion into that, or the person just surviving. I don't want to survive. I mean, I have so much more music in me that that's it. I know that I was born in this time and space to put out everything I have, and still today. I mean, when we do writing sessions, some of the co-writers I sit in a room with, they're like, "How can you do that?" Well, there's no secret potion. You just have to, if you train that every day, if you train every day to be productive, if you train every day to do things and improve and put some time to get better, and it will pay back. It will, because it's always, if you don't invest, you cannot get anything back. I mean, and like I always give an example with when I talk about Jim Peterick from Survivor. I've been more than blessed to work with him, and and you when you meet a person, I think it's like, probably 70 something or 60 towards 70, but still when you work with him, he's like on a mission. He's got that fire to write his best song. And one day I was like, Jim, how can you still feel the urgency and that necessity to write your best song? And he was like, well, that's our job. I mean, even if you wrote Eye of the Tiger or Burning Heart or all the great songs that he wrote, you're still not done. I mean, it's if you're an artist, there's no end. I mean, we're not candles. You don't just extinguish. The more you do, and the more the fire gets bigger. So I don't know how to explain that, but it's the more I do, the more I want to do. Like if I achieve something, I'm always like, yeah, the high that you get when you put some work and you get a result, no matter how big or small. Like when I did the marathon, I'm not a runner.
I was just about to say that. Yeah.
I didn't run to be first. I was in 8,402nd position. So among 40,000. So it's already a good placement, but it's laughable as a result in terms of sports. But if you see the other hand, I wrote the marathon just because I needed something strong as a commitment for myself, and myself wasn't enough. So I ran for PETA, for the organization that protects animals. And So I ran with the PETA Pack, which is this bunch of crazy animal activists that run marathons to raise charity money, and so I just didn't need to do it for myself. Obviously, I did it for myself, because 2020 we paid a toll. Everybody knows, how big and great the sufferings and all the toll that we paid. So I did the marathon as a spiritual thing for myself, but I needed an even bigger aim, that was raising money for animal shelters and animal activism and all the things that PETA does. And even, to be one of the, 40,000 people running and be, so far from the podium, but still crossing that line, it takes, and it takes nothing. If I did it, anybody can do it, because I have a broken knee. Even if I work out, I'm not a runner at all. I have at least 15 kilos more than a regular runner. So I'm like, I'm too heavy. I'm too short. I got too many muscles. I'm the opposite of a runner, but I didn't care. I mean, and just the feeling of crossing that line, it's like, and I can relate to sports people, because sometimes, it's 40,000 people and there's only 3 places, first, second, and third. And then there's, 39,900 whatever other people willing to get to the same spot. So it's, it's kind of a struggle, but even just crossing the line for the big one, for, 26 whatever miles, and you do it, it gives you, it's not that you become more secure of yourself, but it gives you, it lightens, everything becomes lighter.
It's like
everything,
all the effort you've put into it, that's a culmination. That's a payback.
Yeah, and the morning after, I was like, okay, I cannot walk, but I did it, and if I did this, maybe I can do another marathon, and maybe 2. So it's the more you do, the more you want to do. If you learn and train how to enjoy the process, it's it's a whole different game. And obviously, I mean, if you're a professional runner, you run for the first, second, and third place, but you also put some more time into it. I mean, I only trained for a few weeks. It's nothing compared to runners that run their whole life. And but if you it's the biggest advice that I gave since I did the marathon is, well, just run a marathon. Everything changes, because everything you see, all problems just become smaller, and you take action. Because I mean, nobody wants to run a marathon, because running 42 kilometers, it's painful, but obviously you're not gonna die. Nobody dies in a marathon unless you're like, you have a heart failure, but
unless
nobody
you're dehydrated.
Yeah, but I mean, it's very, very, you're very unlucky to die in a marathon, but you don't die. And the worst that can happen, I mean, you walk it. I didn't run the whole time. I walked. And I walked and I ran and I crawled. I did everything I could to get to the finish line. But once you get to the finish line and you do something, that moment you go like, well, what's next? It's not an end. It's never an end. And I always say, well, I'll sleep when I'm dead. It's not my thing. I want to be productive. And honestly, it's a drug. It's amazing. The high that you get when you do something. It can be anything. Write a song or build a car in your backyard, or fix whatever you want in your house. When you do something, it's, the feeling that you have back is amazing. So,
look, I resonate so heavily with what you're saying. I've done 2 marathons myself. I did one 2 years ago, pretty much for the same things. I wanted to raise the money. I wanted to just prove to myself I could do the marathon again. I'm a year older than you, by the way, so we're about the same.
So we're in the same club that you have to do marathons and crazy things to prove to yourself that you still.
We have to prove ourselves. Hey? But it was the same. So I did it again to raise money for my. I've got a special needs son, so I wanted to raise money for his therapy center, so they had more money to give to other families. But yeah, like I think the whole mindset behind running a marathon is something that is so directly linked to achievers. like to people that want to create and stuff.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't become an obstacle. If you go out and you try and sell a marathon to someone who doesn't really, it's too hard, like it's a whole, because you can't just walk out the front door and run 42 kilometers or 26 miles unless you want it. Unless you're saying, I'm going to do this. I don't care if it's going to take me 3 months or 6 months, but I'm going to do it and I'm going to finish it. I'm not running it to win. I'm running it just because I want to prove to myself I can do it. And if you have that same drive and you can apply that to a lot of other stuff, whether it's like, I don't care, we're going to write this album. I don't care. I'm going to play that festival in 3 years time. And then I'm going to find out how I'm going to do it. I'm going to go out and network with all these people because I want this. And if you keep doing that.
Yeah, and then if you plant seeds in a different environment than your usual, because obviously everybody loves comfort, but comfort doesn't create
no growth
necessities.
From it,
man. And when I started to navigate into the runners and ultra runners and Ultraman and Ironman world, I saw what abnegation means. I saw what perseverance means, and I get shivers because to me these people, they're the best because they don't need anything else than just their bodies to do something beyond. They're called Ultraman and Ironman for a reason because they go beyond what's ordinary. But honestly, there's nothing extraordinary. There's only a difference that
it's up here. It's the mind. It's the mind.
It's in the mind. If you decide you want to run a marathon, there's nothing that stops you. You got your legs, and even if you don't have your legs, you can always use, if you're on a wheelchair, you can still do a marathon.
Yep.
There's people doing Ultraman on in any condition, and Olympic Games. What stops you? Nothing. It's only the mind, but the sports and let's say endurance it takes a little bit more focus, just because it takes more time because it's a longer activity. Endurance is, it's a metaphor of life because it's a longer, because, if you lift weights, maybe it's 2 hours a day. If you have your tennis match, it's 2 hours and a half, 2 hours a day. Football match, it's 90 minutes, whatever. But to train for a marathon, at least you gotta get close to that length, and not for a non-pro running 42 kilometers, it could take 10 hours. And and just to say, well, I'm gonna walk for 10 hours, well, that's a long shot. And but it's only in the mind. And when I was running the marathon, obviously it was a virtual marathon. Everybody was running in different places in the world. We synced our clocks with an app. So, it's been awesome. The marathon. We're Guinness World record holders because it's been the marathon with the highest number of runners. Because you just simply had to apply to the London Marathon site, and you could download the app. You got your number, wow. and they send the medal, the shirt, everything home. So it's been great. And I was running. We have trail that are going on the side of a canal that we have here across the river. They created a canal like years and years ago, and I knew that I could run there because only runners and people on their bicycles are there. I was running my marathon. I was already into my probably third hour, so I was like, it's starting to hit. Everything feels heavy. Your feet don't want to lift, and then. Out in the distance, I saw a group of people going very slowly towards me. And the closer we get, I see this old man, like probably 90, at least 90, like very old, with the London Virtual Marathon shirt, running a marathon, surrounded by his family on their bikes. And this old man, like running the same marathon. And I was like, you should have seen me. I was like, what? We're doing the same thing in the same place in the world? Because I tried to find out if there were other Italians doing it, but they did, for privacy. There was no way to find it, and the world is so big, but then so small. I mean, two people running the same marathon on a worldwide scale in the same spot. And this old man, I was about to go like, I don't know if I can do this, because it was raining and it was tough. And I was into my third hour, and I was like, I don't know. It's still going to take 2 hours and a half, 3 hours. That's going to be tough. And then I saw this old man, like, with a smile on his face. And I was like, we're doing the same thing. And he was like, man. and he knew what to say, because I said, we're doing the same thing. And he said, you're still slower. Because I stopped, when I saw him, I stopped and he didn't. And it was like, you're still slower. And I was like, oh yeah, you're right. I mean, that is the amazing thing about marathons. There's nothing like that. So I mean, and it's I have friends that are doing Ironman and Ultraman, and they say the same thing. It's because it's so simple, because we're surrounded by so many optionals that we forget how simple life can be. And that you gotta do a double marathon in a day, and you freaking crazy weirdo. It just takes some crazy thought and just do it. But it's so simple, and you just need your body. I mean, your body and a bicycle and some water if you want to do an Ironman. But a marathon, you just need, proper shoes maybe. But just
very good advice. Yeah. Proper shoes and proper socks.
Yeah, and then I mean, you don't need any, and a good running outfit, just to get more comfy and not get just be comfortable. But marathons 50 years ago, there's been people running marathon without even shoes. So I mean, it really needs just a thought to get things started.
But and again, and you just need to believe that you can do it, because like you said, you're not gonna die. You're not gonna die from it. Let's be honest. You're like, it's just hard. It's something you need to practice. You need to put in the hours. You need to go running a couple of times a week, and again further and further and further. And then you're gonna do it. And yes, it's gonna hurt a couple of days after, but that's all right. Again, it's the sense of accomplishment is so good. I actually had a very very similar experience to you. But when I was doing my last, I've done 2 marathons. But when I did the last one 2 years ago, there was a 10K lap you have to run 4 times, and I met so there's a guy running it who had cerebral palsy. So so he was almost power walking, because like he's really stiff joints, like his knees and all that. And I met him on my last lap when he was on his 3rd lap. So I said to him, I said, I slowly ran past him. I said, wow, just hats off, man. That's so really inspiring to see you run. And said, oh yeah, so this was his 26th marathon, and that was, I think that was his 16th of that particular one where you run that lap, four times. And he said, yeah, I'm always the last one on the last lap. So he imagined that mindset, that that by the time you start your last lap, everybody's finished. And yet he still just does it. It took him 7 hours to run it, and I think it took me like just under 5 hours. And obviously 5 hours is not great, but I said, same as you, I didn't do it to bring in world records or anything. I just did it to finish it. But for him, that would take him 7 hours every time. And he'll be by himself for the last 2. Like, imagine that mindset. Just the grind of just pushing through it. No excuses. And keep doing it year after year. It was crazy. Really inspiring, man.
Yeah, I mean, and it's the great thing about marathons. I mean, you can be, you can see, any kind of person, and it's and most of the people are running for charities. So, I mean, we're all there for something else. I mean, basically, we're all there for ourselves, but it's the service. You're using something that you need to prove to yourself, but you create, an outlet for that. Because, I mean, after 2 days, when the hurt is gone, the marathon is in your past. You cannot, you can redo it, but it's in your past. But still, it can have a broader, like a wider effect if you do something like that. I mean, you run for a charity, it can be, $100 or $2,000 or whatever you can raise. And the great thing I've seen, there were people saying, "Well, Ali, you're such a great inspiration." I was like, "Well, I'm so slow. I cannot be an inspiration," but I could relate to the fact that just a regular guy, went crazy and did the marathon. But it's the same thing. I mean, I see music and anything else I've done the same thing. I remember people were like, you're just a guy from Italy. Why do you want to work with American musicians? They invented what you're doing. You will never make it. And I was like, well, I'm crazy enough to think that I won't reinvent anything, but I think I have something to say into that thing. Because I feel it. I feel that fire, and it's the same thing. When I said to myself, I was like, well, this is the best year to run a marathon because I have time to train, and to work out, and to, and I had the spiritual necessity to do it, and I was like, well, that's perfect. I need to do it because I need to do it for myself. I got the time. And I have the perfect charity. And as a vegan and an animal activist and an animal rights advocate, there's nothing better to run a marathon for PETA. I was like, that's the perfect design for myself. And and also, I mean, to know that whatever sum of money you raised, can be effective. You can do something. And and sometimes people also underestimate charity because they say, oh well, you need to be rich to because we see all these philanthropists, they're all super rich, but it takes nothing to do to throw a good stone to the universe. You can run a marathon, or you can sell whatever you got in your garage, and you want to do a garage sale. But to give, it's the highest gesture as a living creature, because you let go and you just give it to somebody else, and we forget that high, that effect of saying, wow, okay, I made it to the finish line. It hurts, but it's a good pain. It's a wonderful pain.
It's the best pain.
Honestly, that day's been the best day of my life, because the last, I guess, 4 miles, it was pouring rain. Like, it was like crazy. It was cold, it was wet, and I was soaking wet, and it was already tough before it became even tougher. And I prayed that it didn't rain, but it rained. I knew that it was about to rain around 3:00. It rained at 3:00. And honestly, at some point on the, when I knew that I was close, I was always watching my my app. I was like, I'm there. I'm almost there. I'm almost there. But when I stopped for a few minutes, I didn't have any pain. I was like, well, it's not true. You don't feel any pain. But then my brother came to pick me, and so I got home, and I tried to get out of the car, and I couldn't. I was like, oh, help me, lift my legs. But it's a good pain, and the whole sum of the sensations there is incredible. I would invite everyone in this world to do a marathon, or even just a half marathon, a quarter of a marathon, whatever you want.
Whatever it is that will challenge you, something that something you have to work for.
Because obviously, if you challenge yourself, with trying to be the new Michael Jackson, that's a bigger shot of a challenge. It could work, but you could also fail. Like there's a very high risk of failing, and in these times where we don't want to fail, because it's it translates to the world. But let's take little challenges. Honestly, a marathon, they call it the big one, but and you run it. Once you do it, you go like, well, so that's what it is.
Yeah.
If I knew before, I would have done like 50 marathons, and and I can relate to those people. I don't remember the name of this guy. This guy ran a marathon in every nation in the world in a year. So it was basically running marathons almost every day. It was flying, it ran a marathon at Vatican in Italy. And, it was, I don't remember the name. I got to find the name. But, can you imagine how crazy you got to be? There
was an Australian retired couple. You can Google them as well. I think it was 2 years ago. They ran a marathon every day for 1 year for charity as well.
Yeah, you have these people, and then once you run one marathon, you go like, well, okay, so I can relate to these people that obviously to run 360 marathon it's something, but
that's crazy, yeah.
But still, you can do it. There are people running for 400 miles in a row. It's they're exceptional just because their thoughts are exceptional, but they have the same body as I and you and as anybody else. They shaped their bodies in order to do that. That's why I like the shaping time, the tilting time concept, because if you can shape matter, you can shape time, you can shape space, you can shape thoughts. You can if you learn how to see beyond these 3 dimensions that we see. It's true, there's not just 3 dimensions, but because can you give dimension to your thoughts? No, but just the fact that you can see a different reality just thinking about something, that is a perspective. And if you can change and shape your perspectives, I don't want to say that you can do whatever you want, but you can be a much happier and more accomplished person. And by luck, and by if it's really written in the stars, everything will align, and you'll get what you want. It's sometimes you might want to think that this is new age, or the law of attraction kind of concept, but if you see the story of very successful and happy people that were able to achieve things and give back and change the world as we see it, well, they all had one thing in common, which was this strong ambition, which is not, it's not devilish to be like that. It's not, you're just just a driven person, but we use tools that came out of driven ambitions. We use our car. All we use. I'm in Italy and you're in Australia. this is you know, it's and it's vision. Somebody could see that 100 years ago, saying, well, if we create a way that we can use, you know, the light to transmit over cables, maybe one day they would not talk on the phone, they would be video phones. And, you know, that maybe back then, you know, they were like, this guy is nuts. But, you know, that's what drives the world. That's why we're not apes on trees anymore. We evolved, and the evolution comes out of, I don't know, vision, craziness, and you know, and the will to see things differently. So
but at the same time, I think that's also something that can be holding a lot of people back. Again, the fear of failing, because you can have all these big dreams, and you can have this desire to achieve stuff, whether it's to us like small stuff like running a marathon. To other people that would be huge. Even running 10Ks to some people would be big.
Yeah.
But what happens if you don't finish? What happens if you don't run the 10K? What if you don't lose the 10 kilos? What if you don't write that album, or like whatever dream it is you have? Because right now everyone is watching. Like we all connected over Instagram and Facebook and stuff, and all your friends, all your work, for your old schoolmates, they're all gonna know that you failed.
Yeah.
And it's so much, and it's so much easier to bring people down when they fail than it is to give them applause when they actually accomplish their dreams.
Yeah, I mean, that's the bad thing about nowadays approach to other people. And you know what, you know, obviously everybody does, you know, we all don't want to fail, because it's a bad feeling for yourself, and it's, you know, and you got the public shame nowadays. But if you hold yourself accountable with somebody else, the more people know that you're doing something, the more fire behind your ass you have.
Exactly.
So I, you know, it's a rule. Like you're going on a diet. Tell everybody that you're going on a diet, because it's better to fail than to be ashamed. Shame is, you know, you feel guilty. Failing, you can still get out of it. But the shame, you know, and that's why, you know, the big accomplishers, they're vocal about what they do. Like there's a documentary on Netflix. How is it called? Six Pack Lalo Tony, something like that, about a guy who lost 60 pounds, or no, 90 pounds probably, in a year, and became a fitness model and world champion in just a year.
Nice.
Going from, you know, overweight, obese, and he couldn't even walk the stairs, to a world champion of fitness. Well, that's but he was doing videos from day one. He was like, well, I need to tell the world what I'm doing. And you know, and for crazy as it was, but he made an opportunity out of that, because he could create a documentary and inspire people. And his business now is, you know, is a TV show about body transformation. And you know, so basically he changed in a year, out of, you know, 80, 90 years that you can live on this planet, out of just 1 year of dedication, he changed his whole life. And you know, it's you know, obviously, I mean, you can fail. If you're out there, if you're aware in the arena, you're gonna fail. I mean, the risk is, you know, if you're a doer, you might fail. But if you're a doer but you're a constant doer, well, I mean, the day after you wake up and you just do something else. I mean, if you failed, you know, even if you failed 100 times, but if you win one time, then still you're a winner. Think about Olympic athletes. I mean, they train for years, and for just those maybe 20 seconds of competition, and maybe they're not even making it to the third place, but still they're still training again. Because I mean, it's a process. It's life is not, when they say that life is not a destination, it's true. I mean, it's a journey. It's a and whatever. I mean, we nature tells us what to do. I mean, nature is adapting and reacting to all the adversities or inputs from the world. I mean, if water, the great Bruce Lee, one of his quotes was, "Be water, my friend." I mean, adapt. You fall, just rise up and do it again. I mean, because you will fall, because we're living this life, and we can fail. You can fail to be, but I mean, unless you don't die, but you can still fix things. I mean, even if you hurt someone, you can still fix things. I mean, it just takes the courage to create an action, like say, sorry, I was an asshole, sorry. And that still, I mean, it's fail. I encourage people to fail. If you don't fail, you don't improve, you don't learn, you don't move forward,
Exactly.
and because and failure is the biggest fuel, and like for myself, from the outside, it might look like, it's got his own clients and it's all set up. It's not true. I mean, sometimes, I get a feedback, I don't know, on a production, and they go like, "Well, it's amazing, but," and I still want that but, because that's my next thing. That's my fire. I'm like, no, I don't, because my goal is to get to my last production and maybe not get a but I want that feedback. I need that feedback from my clients, or I don't know, for my students. And somebody says, "Well, I tried your vocal workout, I couldn't do it, so I tried it this way and it works." That's the fire I need. I'm like, I should have thought myself. I should have done it. So so if you're addicted to growth and to move forward, you see, failure can be anything. It's just, you learn, you just park your car and you hit, whatever, you hit another car. You just didn't fail. You just, you learned what not to do.
But failure in this case is also super healthy, because that is growth. Because again, if you're just comfortable and you only keep, this is amazing, this is amazing, this is amazing, then you're not growing. You're just doing the same thing every time. But here, how about it? You could also do it this way. Cool. Yeah, of course. I wouldn't have thought it this way, because I only do it this way until somebody else gives me that fresh feedback, where you then start to expand and grow. I love it. I love it. Probably one last thing, because we've been chatting now for, including the break, we've been chatting for almost 3 hours. But
wow, okay.
I know, it's crazy. But where does Alessandro go from here? What's the next thing? What's your next big goal? Like, is there a big something you need to achieve, you need to accomplish?
Well, as a person, I mean, like the Ale, the regular guy, I'm training because I want to get better at sports, and I want to do an Ironman in maybe 5 years, but probably less. I hate swimming, so I had to, after all the great talk, I'm still a work in process. I'm in progress. I'm like, I don't like swimming, but I want to do an Ironman, so I gotta get on my ass and swim and work towards that. Because I mean, I want to start with maybe a duathlon and a triathlon, like in 2-3 years, and do an Ironman. Even if I'm last, I'll probably be the last already in the water. So I mean, but I want to do it, and so that is my next. That's my stone to the universe. In terms of music, I'm trying to expand my the people that I work with. I want to create more security for them in terms of job that I can create, and so I wanna get even a wider range of clients in terms of genre, and because all that happens here now, it's happening because I'm basically pulling all my ropes, and it's all linked to my sound, to my vision, to the way I do things. But I really want to give my team the possibility of also walking with their own sound, and not be just just working for me and for the way my artists want me to work with with them. But I want to create a place where producers and engineers and writers can work on their own, use my channels and use my outlets and places that we can pitch them, but create a little place where they can be creative and be themselves, and try to create the same professional persona that I am. Like, you want to work with a guy with that sound and unique with other people, and that's gonna take some time and work, but we're planting the seeds, and and we'll go from there.
It's like, it sounds like everything you're doing is just working out because you have that passion, you have that drive, you have that marathon mentality. So yeah, it's been super inspiring to talk to you and hear about your plans, and I can't wait to sort of follow your journey as well, and see how everything is going.
We'll see if I can swim.
yeah. You got to learn how to swim as well.
Yeah, because after the great talk, you gotta believe in something, and it's just a thought, but it's true, it's just a thought, because I hate swimming, but honestly I never swam the right way, so, and I hated running. So I'm sure that once in the water with the right mentality, learning the technique, the basic technique, I will be swimming all the time. Yeah, so I'm and I know. When I told my parents, they were like, "Oh no, again, another thing now? Wasn't the marathon enough? Now you want to do double marathon and biking for 200 kilometers and swimming, and But I think it's fun, and it keeps you out of your comfort zone.
It keeps your mind sharp. Like, again, it keeps you. Oh, it's that extra mental challenge.
I don't want to consider myself a winner, but I accomplish things, but to do something and not be the first in the class, it's a good humbling experience. Because when I finished the marathon, everybody was like, what was your placement? And I was like, I don't know. It took me 6 hours and 40 minutes. So I think I was last. But that sort of not caring about how many numbers you sold, and the views on YouTube. It's a different goal. It doesn't change. It doesn't change it changes the perspective of your goals. It's not like, oh, how many copies did we sell? So and you go back to your calculator or whatever. it's more like, who cares? I mean, I just did something. So
it's a very different connection.
Yeah, and it keeps me it keeps me down to earth. So at least I'm doing something that it's a little tougher than and it's not so natural because I'm lazy. Honestly, I'm lazy. I'm a lazy.
Certainly doesn't sound like it, man. With that.
But I don't like to be like that. So my I've been obese in my life, so I know what it takes to do the wrong thing. It takes nothing. It's easy. It's easy to become overweight. It's easy to be lazy, but I don't like to get into that place again. So the fear of being there again and and then get on the freaking treadmill again to lose weight and and see this number slowly go down. I don't want to do that, and that is painful. But it's very easy to get addicted to do nothing, and I don't want to be like that. So there's the only way I know is to do a million things. So yeah, I take that as a blessing, but as a it's like lots of these Ultraman and Ironman are former alcoholics and drug addict. So I mean, it's you need something bigger so that you're not distracted, because I mean, if I didn't have anything to do, I would be eating. So,
yeah.
So I'm like, okay, I'd better run so that I don't eat any cake.
So you have an excuse to keep eating.
So yeah, I mean,
if balances each other out.
If I don't have anything to do, I'm just on my couch watching a movie, eating my cake, and that doesn't take me anywhere. So.
That's it, man.
Yeah.
Alessandro, where can people go if they want to follow your musical journey, or if they want to see how your progress going on swimming and all that?
Now I gotta do it. Okay. Well, I got all the social medias on Instagram and Facebook, and I'm not a Twitter guy, but I got Twitter that's linked to Instagram, so it's basically the same outlet. Yep. And I got my own website, alessandrodelvecchio.com, and but I'm not a social media guy, but I'm social, so I like to be out there and promote all my musical activities and my side activities like animal activism, charity, and I try. My social media is very positive. It's it's
Fantastic.
A pure positive mental attitude outlet. Even when I talk about veganism and animal rights, I try. It's tough, but I try not to go like, well, we're killing animals. Or when I'm doing charities for unfortunate situations and things like that, I'm not like, well, they're poor. Well, we all know that. I'm trying to just show what we can do if we raise the money. Well, we're gonna do the school in Africa with this money. So I'm trying to be positive even when things are tough. So my social media is all about music and we all see what's happening with the world. We all know the problems that we see, but we can have a different approach, and my social media are all positive, sometimes even super funny, especially when I'm training or when I'm learning what to cook and how to cook professionally. It's funny because I do all my stories, and so I think it's fun to follow me sometimes.
Fantastic. And that's have you got like a preferred platform? So would that be Instagram or?
Instagram and Facebook. I'm from the old generation. I don't do TikTok, but Facebook and Instagram. Mostly Instagram, probably, because it's got the stories and it's easier. You just post a little story from the studio and but
it's nice and easy. It's plug and play. You just take a photo, write a caption, and boom, done. Off we go. Next.
Yeah.
Alessandro, it's been an absolute pleasure. I've had a blast, and I'm so glad you took the time out to come and share all these crazy stories.
Thank you for
and it was so cool to bond over the whole marathon thing again. I can totally relate to all that as well.
Yeah, I mean, thank you very much. It's been, it's I get asked about the marathon all the time since October, but it's never been so deep. And I'm very glad that we had this conversation that started from somewhere and it derailed into something else.
That's it, yeah.
And but since we got once so thrust as mutual friends, I'm not surprised that it derailed, because I mean, we got very spiritual and mindful friends in common, so it couldn't be that far.
Thank you so much, Alessandro.
Thank you. You're welcome. My pleasure.